Welcome along members, Councillor Roll, Councillor Nixon, Councillor Brimelkamp and Councillor McIndoe. And our observers today, Councillor Danielson and Councillor Godwin-Smith, who are sitting in on our meeting today. And welcome to everyone live streaming into Central Highlands. Councillors, we've got a reasonably light agenda today for our Leadership and Governance Standing Committee. All our committee is present except for Councillor Lacey, who had an apology. Would someone like to move Councillor Lacey's apology? Oh, sorry, and Councillor Brimelkamp. Apologies. Councillor Brimelkamp and Councillor Lacey. Moved by Councillor Nixon, second by Councillor Roll. All in favour? Against? Thank you. Any leaves of absence required? We had a crack at that. Okay. Confirmation of the previous minutes from the 14th of the 3rd, 14th of March. Someone happy to move those?
Yes.
Moved by Councillor Roll, second by Councillor McIndoe. You were present? Yes. Yes, you're all good. That dealt with, I think, our asset base for insurance purposes, which was a very good discussion. And the corporate plan and operational plan, just I think Lila presented that in terms of just how far we've progressed there. Any questions, any business arising from those? All good? Right, councillors, review of their outstanding meeting actions. There are none, which is a good sign. Any material personal interest, conflicts of interest, personal gifts and benefits to declare?
Yes. Oh, there is.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr.
So we'll refer back to the outstanding meeting actions. There is one, isn't there?
Yes.
That's in relation to.
It's the outstanding letter to the SES that Marnie was going to attend to, but it hasn't changed, so it really doesn't get tabled at the minute.
Okay.
No, we're all right.
Yes. Okay. So none of those NPIs, conflict of interest, personal gifts and benefits, none of the team? All good, yeah, thank you. No petitions tabled?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Okay, well, let's get to the crux, the core of the meeting, our report today. And I'll ask Marianne to introduce Sandy, and perhaps before we do, we might make mention of the fact that this may be your last Leadership and Governance meeting, Marianne.
Yes, it will be.
I suspect, and I think it, we'll have the opportunity, I think at the end of the meeting, we might acknowledge that. You might be introducing almost your last report, so Marianne, if you'd like to introduce Sandy, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Councillors, our last report for me to introduce is for Sandy Schofield, our Coordinator of Safety, to take you through the safety performance as at the 27th of April. So Sandy's done a large body of work in relation to overhauling safety, how it's reported, and also had some good results in turning around some of our safety statistics. So I'll hand over to Sandy to talk you through the statistics and the results that she's been able to achieve.
Thank you, Marianne. So the summary report today is to highlight to Council any issues, risks or opportunities impacting the safety and health of our workers here at Council. The report contains 3 lagging indicators, so the statistics there we'll be discussing are recordable incidents, lost time injury frequency rate and duration rate. So 2 recordable incidents were reported in March and 1 recordable incident was reported in April. Of the 3 incidents, 2 workers have returned to work on suitable duties and 1 other worker is being managed under workers' compensation as a lost time injury. So as you can see from previous in that graph that we've got there, we are trending very low on the reported incidents to date, and we're expecting that to continue on a downward trend. So I'm very happy with the fact that our numbers are the lowest we've seen in the last 5 years, and that's largely due to the commitment that we've had from some of our executive leadership and also our managers in Council. There's a real commitment to pushing our safety message down to the ranks, so I'm quite happy with that. So lost time injury frequency rate is a useful indicator to compare safety performance against other similar industries and against our own performance within the organisation. So lost time injury frequency rate is calculated by the number of lost time injuries in a period divided by the total number of hours worked in the period and multiplied by a million. Central Highlands Regional Council sits within Group D of the Local Government Work Care Scheme, and Council's current lost time injury frequency rate is higher than other councils within the scheme at 21.7 compared to 14.5, but we are trending lower than our own performance at the same time last year. Current information and trends predict our lost time injury frequency rate to continue to decline for the remainder of this year. Duration rate is another lagging indicator used to measure safety performance. So duration is defined as the average days lost per lost time injury. And Council's current duration rate is also higher than other local governments in similar size. We're at 22.1 days compared to the average in the scheme at 16.3 days. The current duration rate is higher than the same time last year, however has started to trend downwards. The spike in the duration rate is a direct correlation between the severity of number of injuries that were being managed and the closure of these cases recently will see a continuation in the downward trend for the remainder of the year. So there are a couple of our lagging indicator statistics, but we are also really proactive and trying to look at innovation and where we can help improve our safety performance, simplify processes and deliver more effective risk management practices within the operational areas of Council. Our safety advisors have been spending a significant amount of time with project managers and supervisors on sites to gain a better understanding of work practices. As a result, they themselves have developed a project safety toolkit, which is an all-encompassing project management tool to ensure safety compliance at an operational level. The toolkit has been fully adopted on our Carnarvon Gorge project, and it's now been piloted in 2 other utilities projects in Dingo and in Blackwater. The project safety toolkit has been well received by supervisors and project managers with positive feedback to date. If feedback continues to be positive, the project safety toolkit will be made available to all areas for utilisation for the remainder of this year. Another key focus area for our team is injury management. A significant focus on injury management recently has seen a more structured and disciplined methodology evolve. This has been largely due to the temporary engagement of our health advisor, who is medically trained and very experienced in the return to work space. Council has the greatest number of injury management cases of all local governments within our region. Of the 17 cases being managed, 6 cases have exceeded 6 months in duration. Diligence and resolve of our team has seen 12 of the 17 cases finalised within the last month. Of the 5 remaining open cases, 3 workers are progressively returning to work on suitable duties, whilst another 2 workers are on temporary impairment or lost time on post-operative recovery. Underlying medical conditions and degenerative disease has the greatest impact for recovery and return to work for many of our workers. Our health and wellbeing programs will continue to focus on these areas of physical and mental health and fitness. The Rehabilitation and Return to Work coordinators will continue to strive for improvements in this area, which will involve closer working relationships with our local medical practitioners and establishing greater flexibility options for suitable duties. Some of our other areas of focus for our team are safety leadership. We're spending a lot more time in field with our operational leaders, mentoring and coaching them. We're trying to close the gaps and build better working relationships. Asbestos management is another priority for our team. Our team is currently liaising with relevant stakeholders and industry experts to develop an asbestos strategy for managing asbestos within Council. It is anticipated that I'll be able to present that report to Council in the near future. We're also looking at minimising workers' exposure to hazardous substance and hazardous noise through health monitoring and health surveillance. An occupational hygienist will be on our Council sites over the next month, taking noise samples and looking at taking hazardous substance samples as well, so we can better understand where our exposure areas are. Risk management is a high priority for us. We're currently developing risk management practices which will integrate into operational tools currently in use in the field. This includes the expansion of our risk registers, improvement in the application of safe work method statements, and the use of job step analysis on operational tasks. I feel the greatest risk exposure to Council at the moment is contractor control. This is going to be an area of focus for us over the next 12 months. Contractor control, we'll be looking at strategies for onboarding our contract partners and managing their health and safety whilst they're working with us. The other area to make comment on is that we're continuing to expand on our drug and alcohol testing program. So, happy to take any questions.
Well, Councillor saying there's a lot in that report, and I'm pleased to see obviously some of the trends. But Councillor, do comments?
Yeah, it's, the focus is looking at asbestos and contractors and everything, but yet our biggest issue relates to previous medical conditions. What are we doing in the area of employment, pre-employment medicals and things like that?
So another area of focus for the upcoming financial year will be pre-employment screening. So the safety team, in collaboration with the organisational development team, are putting together a pre-employment screening process, which will also include health screening as part of that. So it's definitely on the agenda for the next financial year.
And just an observation of my own person is the placement in, I guess I've got to be careful in how I word this, but are we putting the right people in the right tasks? It's just a concern that I've observed out there in the workforce. Are they fit for the task? Not fit for duty, but fit for task. And it's just I know it's a difficult area to discuss, but I think it needs to be addressed at some stage when we look at policy development.
We've actually got quite a mixed employment age bracket across our workers. Most of our workers average close to the 50-year-old age mark. So we do have an ageing workforce, which for my focus area, we really need to spend some time in that space, because a lot of those degenerative diseases, whilst you might hurt yourself at work, are often exacerbated by those type of illnesses that people are experiencing. The other area of focus, which we can't lose, is the young workers, young and inexperienced workers. So that mentoring program, it's really important that we're not only mentoring, but mentoring correctly. So the pre-employment medical component is definitely part of that. We're doing job fit. That will involve a job fit assessment of the worker to ensure that they have the physical capability to perform the task. But it's also an ongoing training program and mentoring program, which I think we should start to look at, to look at those sort of options as well. The other area is when we return people to work on suitable duties, it's actually building those relationships with supervisors to fully understand what their task is, because there's often a lot more that they can do than their day-to-day tasks. So definitely looking at that to take that on forward.
Sandy, I've actually participated in, as probably as a contractor, one of our council facilities, and it goes through a lot of questions, obviously, about understanding the obligation to a contractor when actually either working for or working in a council facility. Is that now broadly sort of right across our contractor population? Is that? We have a induction program for contractors at council. However, we're evolving that to the next stage as well. Yeah. We're looking at taking away the labels and looking at, as defined under the Work Health and Safety Act, a contractor is a worker, along with an employee, a volunteer, work experience, council elected representative. We're all seen as a worker, and so every worker will be onboarded under the same process going forward. That program, I believe, is almost at a point where we're ready to roll that out, and then it'll be looking at, depending on what area of council you'll be working in as a contractor, whether you need further training or induction in that space. So these sorts of figures going forward, does that only include our actual employees, these ones?
Yeah. The statistics that we've got there at the moment are specifically for our employees. We do, however, keep statistics on any incidents as a piece of the council has a responsibility to ensure that we report any incident that occurs within our business or undertaking. So whether it comes from our reporting spectrum or it comes from the contract as a principal contractor, we do keep that information in our statistics constantly.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Sandy, what's the financial cost? I know that it's pretty tough to talk about, the financial cost of when you've got people injured, but what is the financial, you know, do we do the sums on what it is actually costing council to have?
Per injury,
Yeah.
is that, I haven't got that, information with me at the moment, but there is an analysis that we can do. And, I suppose sometimes we look at it as our, premium that we're paying to local government work care, and that's something that we do look at. And we identify whether that's increasing or reducing. The only concern I have with that, it's not a direct correlation of what's happening now. That takes into account the last 5 years worth of injuries, so it's difficult to say the good work that might happen in this financial year might not be reflective until 5 years' time, because it takes into common law and also statutory claims. So, but we can have a look at that, see if we can break it down per injury.
When you're saying that, sorry, when you're saying that we're above, the benchmark and some of it, we've had so few injuries. How does that work?
The reason that's the case is in those injuries, we had very significant injuries. One long case has actually gone on for 18 months, and a lot of that time has been lost time. That particular worker more than likely will not return to work. It's been quite a significant injury that was sustained. So it's the severity and it's the amount of lost time experienced in that injury. We can have a worker that hurts themselves, but we get them back to work the next day, so it won't be reflected in the stats. So that's part of the work that having a dedicated health advisor on at the moment has been really good. We're working very closely with local government work care, the supervisors, and trying to get those workers back to work as soon as we possibly can for their benefit and as well as for council, cost effective.
Sorry, can't make that unit.
That's fine.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Sandy. Obviously, obviously good work in trending down, which obviously is very, very pleasing. I understand that you can't necessarily sometimes have a lot of control over that, but certainly the practices that you've got going, and it's certainly very interesting to hear that the other projects and certainly the learnings out of some of those incidents we've had recently that you're going to bring into the organisation will obviously improve that. So I think obviously if you listen to discussion around some of our inventory, we certainly have a lot of structures that are certainly involved with asbestos, and obviously safety and work around that is paramount, considering that incident was not so long ago. So it's very, very good to hear that our learnings are turning into programs. So thank you very much for that. Appreciate it very much. Councillors, I think that was the only actual report we had on today's agenda. I'm not sure there's any general business.
Can I just ask
Yes,
a question? What's the situation with, there's been a piece of equipment, or it's actually a bench up at the showgrounds in Springshaw. It's been there, they tell me the building's been there for 50 years, and this brick bench that everybody sits on has been there for that time, and they've taken it away in the last couple of weeks. I don't understand why, and apparently it was just said by the work camp guy, somebody said it was a safety issue. Well, the only people that fall off it are those that are very drunk, I'd imagine, and it's only seat height. It doesn't make sense that you take away something and then have to replace it. I'm not sure whether it's a
I
safety
suppose
issue.
my comment on that would be, I wasn't aware that hasn't come through our team to authorize that works. But often our work area inspections will bring up that there are significant hazards, or the design of something is not up to spec now. What may have been accepted 50 years ago, maybe not necessarily. But I mean, every particular work area like that is taken into account. I'd have to get some detail on that, Councillor Roth. But we do only replace things and improve things if there is a real safety risk there. That's coming from our team. There is
Would it be something to do with the liquor licensing or something like that, maybe?
I'm not sure on that. Yeah.
Certainly keep finding out some detail and back you on that.
Hope it's a place for a show.
Well, this is it, because they're all sitting on the bar now, and the bar's that high, so.
We're actually scheduled to do our inspection down there over the next couple of weeks, our team, in preparation for the show.
Well, we have, the work camp has, well, should by now completed the railing for the enclosing the liquor licensed area,
Yeah,
so which looks good.
yeah, I can definitely take that on board and follow up and see who authorised that and why it was removed, because it's not something that we promote to replace, particularly when there's a cost associated to that.
Yeah. Thank you.
No other questions, councillors? Well, look, I think we should take this opportunity, thank you, Sandy, again, that the councillors, given that this has been Marianne's last leadership of government, so I'm sure there'll be another opportunity to, I suppose, thank her more for obviously long years of work here, but if councillors do have something to add from our leadership and governance group, I'd be quite happy to hear your comments now if you want to.
Well, I will say something, as a first time councillor, and really appreciate your input. Thank you. Leadership in governance areas, it's a big thing in councils, in organisations, in large organisations. So, thank you, Marianne. And we'll see you down the street. I hope not in a legal situation.
Thank you, Marianne, for your work, and I wish you the best of luck with the next step of your career.
Thank you.
No, as Christine said, even though you're gone from the Central Highlands Regional Council family, you are only just moving down the road. We know where you are, which is great, but as someone that's not actually on the leadership and governance committee, certainly Marianne, the work that you've done in the years that I've been involved with council has been of a super high standard. You're the ultimate professional, and it's just been an absolute delight having you across the room from us and in the room, and knowing that the work you do is always done to such a high standard. It's just been a real pleasure and a blessing having to work with you.
From a personal perspective and a friend of yours, I just want to say thank you. I don't know how you do it, as I've said before, that sort of stuff that you gouge your eye out before. The amount of work, and most often under difficult pressures, in relation to the Indigenous work that you do, and just the governance alone. And it's an area that has been tidied up. I've watched the outstanding requirements list drop. You do get through an amazing amount of work, and your entire team has helped my transition into a first-time councillor. So personally, I'd just like to say thank you, and on behalf of all councillors, I know you do a terrific job, and yes, your work will be commented on for years to come, and gratitude will be thanked as we go further into our term. But look, thanks for everything you've done, darling. It's been tremendous.
Thanks so much.
If I can just thank the Mayor for opening that door, just say a few words, and I know I acknowledge too that there'll be an opportunity to farewell Marianne appropriately, but I'd just like to say that it's probably one of the best hires I've made. I recruited Marianne for this role back in 2013, which is a promotion from a former role she had with council. And I credit Brian Attain for having the foresight. Brian's my predecessor, the former CEO of Central Highlands Regional Council, who had a 42-year service in local government, 12 and 40 years with both Emerald and Central Highlands Regional Council. I credit him with the foresight of recognising the need to have a dedicated resource to tackle important issues, namely in those areas of governance, enterprise, risk management and performance. And so I had the pleasure of recruiting Marianne into the role, and as I said, it's one of the best hires I've made. She's never let me down, and I refer to her as not to her, but I refer to her as my right-hand man or woman. she certainly delivers a power of work, and where she's taken this department, which was born in 2013 to where it is now, is tremendous, and it's really changed the mindset of council as it performs that regulatory watchdog type function. And I also like to thank her for everything really. I know it can be very difficult to work for at times. I'm quite demanding at times and have high expectations, but she's never let me down. It'll be sad to see her go, but I'm excited for her at the same time because I know that she's pursuing a career in law, where she's spent a lot of her academic time preparing for, and I think that's really exciting when you can make a decision to go and do something different because you want to do it. I think it's great, and I wish her all the best of luck with that. So thanks, Mary, for everything.
Right, and to Clyde, certainly from my experiences here, certainly the last 12 months, Mary Ann, it's been, as the Deputy Mayor said, a great privilege to always have you in the room. I fully understand in the context of this community, you know, your area of governance has been part of this business dramatically in your work around audit and certainly your legalese in respect of oversight of lots of policies is something that, you know, will be a legacy that the council can really rely on. I mean, that's the greatest compliment that we'll ever receive, is we let the place a better place when we came. And you've done that, and I know you achieved that while being a student as well, and making sure that you know, the things that you love, you study, and you made time for your family, and obviously a very busy job. But as I say, the place is very much better for you being here. So
Thank you.
I appreciate it very much. And as I say, you'll only be down the street and probably spending a little bit of time at the front of this building, I'm expecting. And I'm happy for you to sit on the box just around the corner if you want to do that. So,
Thank you.
in the seating that we provide for the courthouse. So,
Thank you.
but no, it'll be great to see you enjoying that, and we look forward to dropping it off so you feel like it. So thank you very much.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
Well, look, thank you, councillors. As I said, it's a light agenda today, but it's an important one. It's really been a great opportunity to have those reports and to, I guess, respectfully farewell Mary Ann in this context, and we'll get the opportunity to make that a hearty hurrah maybe later next week and in that occasion. So, council, I think if there's no further business, we'll declare the meeting closed at 12:27. Thank you.